The wind moved softly through the streets of Alara as the sky glowed with red and silver lights. The strange ships hovered near the town, their engines humming with energy. The people of Alara gathered behind their walls, afraid and unsure of what to do. Mira stood near the door of her house, her heart beating fast. She could see Aaron standing calmly near the entrance of the town, holding his old sword in one hand. He looked quiet, just as he always did, but there was something different in his eyes. They were calm but powerful, like someone who had faced fear before and learned not to bow to it. The Alari guards whispered among themselves. "He is only a human," one said. "He has no weapon of power, only that piece of metal." Another replied, "Still, look at him, he does not fear them." They watched in silence as the strangers stepped closer. The intruders were tall and thin, wearing armor that shimmered like glass. Their leader raised a hand, sending a wave of light across the ground, as if testing the strength of the wall. The light broke into tiny sparks, and the Alari guard stepped back in fear. Aaron stayed still. He took a slow breath and looked up at the ships above. Mira could not take her eyes off him. She remembered how he used to fix broken tools and help the children in the marketplace. He was kind, gentle, and never loud. But now, standing before the threat, he looked like someone who carried a hidden power. The leader of the intruders spoke in a strange language that echoed through the air. The sound was cold and sharp. Aaron listened for a moment and then answered back in the same language. Mira was shocked. She had never heard him speak in such a tone. His voice was steady and clear, carrying both authority and peace. The alien leader paused for a moment, surprised that the human understood. There was silence between them. Then, Aaron lowered his sword slightly and said something again, this time in the common tongue so everyone could understand. "You do not need to harm this place. Leave now and no one will be hurt." The crowd behind the walls gasped softly. They had never heard Aaron speak so firmly. The intruders looked at him, and their leader made a sharp motion with his hand. The air shimmered and a pulse of energy shot toward Aaron. The ground shook as the pulse hit the spot where he stood. When the dust cleared, everyone expected to see him fallen, but Aaron was still there. His feet were firm, and his sword glowed faintly with a soft blue light. The Alari guards could not believe their eyes. "His sword blocked it," one whispered. Mira felt tears forming in her eyes. She had always known Iran was special, but now she saw it with her own eyes. The sword was old, but it carried some kind of energy, something from the old human days when they still fought to protect their worlds. Aaron looked at the leader again. "You were warned," he said simply. He raised his sword and tapped the ground gently. The light from the blade spread across the soil like a wave. The strange machines of the invaders began to shake as if something unseen was pushing them back. It was not a weapon of destruction but of balance. The light did not harm anyone, yet it made the air heavy, forcing the intruders to step back. The alien leader shouted in anger, but his followers hesitated. None of them wanted to move closer. The quiet human in front of them was not just an engineer. He was something much more. Inside the town, people began to whisper. Who is he? How can a human do that? Is he some kind of warrior? Mira heard every whisper, but she could not answer them. She was watching her husband, and all she could think was that she never truly knew what lived inside his heart. After a few long moments, the intruders stepped back toward their ships. They looked uncertain, as if they were no longer sure they wanted this fight. Aaron stood without moving until they lifted off into the air. The ships rose higher, the sound of their engines fading into the distance. Only then did Aaron lower his sword. The glow around it disappeared, leaving only a simple metal blade. The crowd began to cheer softly, some clapping their hands, others simply staring in disbelief. The Alari guards rushed forward, bowing slightly. "You saved us," one said. "We did not even know you could fight." Aaron gave a small smile. "I did not fight," he replied. "I only reminded them that peace is stronger than pride." Mira ran toward him, her heart still trembling. When she reached him, she held his hand tightly. "Aaron," she whispered, "what did you just do?" How did you stop them? He looked at her with a calm expression. It was not the sword, he said softly. It was the promise I made long ago, to protect those who cannot protect themselves. They walked home together, while the town celebrated behind them. That night, the sky was quiet again, but Mira could not sleep. She kept thinking about what she had seen. The man she loved was gentle and kind, but there was something ancient inside him, a story he had never told. When morning came, the elders of the town came to see Aaron. They thanked him and asked him to lead the defense of Alara. But Aaron refused politely. I am only an engineer, he said. I came here to build, not to lead. The elders did not insist, but they looked at him with respect. From that day, everyone treated him differently. Children followed him through the streets, curious about his glowing sword. Traders greeted him with smiles and guards saluted when he passed. But Aaron remained the same quiet man, working in his small workshop and fixing machines for the town. Mira tried to ask him about his past, but he would only smile and change the topic. Some stories, he said, are better told when the time is right. Weeks passed peacefully, but something inside Mira told her that this calm would not last forever. She noticed how Aaron sometimes looked at the sky as if waiting for something. He kept his sword near him, carefully hidden but never far from reach. He also began visiting the city walls more often, checking the systems and scanning the horizon. One evening, when the suns were setting again, Mira joined him on the hill near their home. She sat beside him and asked, Are you worried they will return? Aaron looked thoughtful. Maybe not the same ones, he said quietly. But the galaxy has many who believe peace is weakness. Humans learned long ago that sometimes you must show strength to protect it. Mira watched him as the light of the setting suns reflected on his face. She saw both peace and strength in him, the heart of a man who had seen many things but still chose kindness. She smiled softly and said, I think the galaxy still needs people like you. Aaron looked at her and replied, The galaxy needs people like you more, those who still believe in peace. The wind carried their words away into the evening sky. For a while, everything seemed calm again, but far beyond the stars, something was stirring. A signal had been sent from the retreating ships carrying the name of the quiet human who had stopped them. Someone, somewhere, was listening, and they were not pleased. In a distant galaxy where different alien races lived together under the Grand Alliance, humans were still seen as a mystery. They were strong, adaptable, and had strange emotions that others could not understand. Among the many alien worlds, one peaceful planet named Alara was home to a young woman named Mira. She was from the Alari race, known for their calm nature and glowing blue eyes. Mira worked as a teacher in a small learning hall, teaching younglings about the cultures of the galaxy. Her life was simple, peaceful, and quiet. One day, a new arrival came to Alara. His name was Aran. He was a human from Earth who came to work as an engineer for the local defense systems. When he first arrived, people did not pay much attention to him. Humans were rare visitors, and they often stayed quiet, focused on their work. But there was something different about Aaron. He spoke less, smiled kindly, and helped anyone who needed it. Mira first saw him in the marketplace when he was helping an elderly vendor fix a broken hover cart. His hands were steady, his movements simple, and his tone gentle. Mira noticed how others looked at him with curiosity. He seemed out of place but calm, like a lake in the middle of a storm. Over the next few weeks, Aaron became a familiar face in the town. He was quiet, polite, and always respectful. He spent most of his time working in the small mechanical station near the city wall. Many Alari thought he was too simple, too calm, too human, but Mira found that quiet nature interesting. She started visiting his workshop, bringing him fruit tea and asking about Earth. Aaron would smile softly and explain how his planet was once filled with cities, oceans, and forests. He spoke about the stars humans once reached and how they learned to live among other species. Mira listened with wide eyes, imagining that blue planet where humans came from. Slowly, their friendship grew into something deeper. Months passed, and soon the whole town was talking about them. It was unusual for an Alari to marry a human, but Mira did not care. She admired Aaron's patience, kindness, and the way he made her feel safe. He never raised his voice, never argued, and always looked at her as if she was the most important thing in his universe. Their wedding was small, but beautiful. It took place under the silver trees of Alara, with light petals falling around them. The Alari elders gave their blessing, and a few human travelers joined to celebrate. Everyone thought it was a peaceful union. Mira believed her life would remain calm and happy with Aron. She had no idea what kind of past he carried inside his quiet heart. After the wedding, they lived in a small house near the edge of the town. Aaron continued his engineering work, and Mira continued teaching. Life was peaceful, but sometimes Mira noticed strange things about him. He would wake up before sunrise and sit outside watching the horizon. Sometimes his eyes seemed lost in deep thought, as if remembering something far away. One morning, Mira asked him gently, "Aaron, do you miss Earth?" He smiled faintly and said, "Sometimes, but not the place, only the people I knew." His voice carried a weight that Mira could not understand. She wanted to ask more, but she saw how quietly he turned away, so she let the question fade. Days turned into weeks. One evening, the sky over Alara turned red as the twin suns set behind the hills. Mira and Aaron sat together on the porch, sipping warm tea. The air was calm, but a distant hum filled the night. Aaron looked up sharply. Mira noticed how his posture changed. His calm face became alert. "What is it?" she asked softly. "Engines," he said, listening carefully. "Not local ones." Before Mira could respond, bright lights appeared in the sky. Strange ships descended from the clouds. The town bells began to ring, signaling danger. Mira's heart raced as she saw people running for shelter. Aaron stood slowly, his calm expression returning but his eyes sharp. The ships landed beyond the city wall. A group of unknown beings stepped out, their machines glowing with strange energy. The Alari guards gathered, confused and frightened. Mira held Aaron's arm tightly. "Stay inside," he told her quietly. Mira shook her head. "No, I'm not leaving you." He looked at her, his calm gaze meeting hers. "I won't let anything happen to you." He walked into their small home and opened an old metal case she had never seen before. Inside lay a long, simple sword. It was not shiny or decorative. It looked ancient, plain, and human-made. Mira's breath caught. You brought a sword?" she asked in surprise. Aaron looked down at it. "It was given to me a long time ago. I hoped I would never need it again." He lifted it slowly, the blade catching the red light of the setting suns. For the first time, Mira saw a new side of him. The quiet, kind man she had married suddenly seemed different, strong, focused, and ready. Outside, the strange visitors moved closer. The guards shouted warnings, but they were scared. The energy from the intruders' machines flickered like a storm. Mira could feel her heart pounding. Aaron stepped outside, the sword in his hand. The townspeople turned to look at him, unsure what a human could do with an old metal blade. But there was something in his stance, steady and unshaken. He walked forward as if he had done this many times before. Mira watched from the doorway, her hands trembling. She didn't understand what was happening, but deep inside she felt that Aaron was not just an ordinary human engineer. There was something hidden, something he had kept silent about. As the intruders advanced, the air grew heavy. The Alari guards looked ready to flee, but Aaron stood firm in front of them. He turned his head slightly and said in a calm voice, "No one needs to be afraid." His tone was soft, but it carried strength that made everyone pause. Mira's eyes filled with tears of worry and awe. The man she thought she knew, the quiet, gentle husband, was now standing before the unknown, holding nothing but an old sword, as if it was enough. The wind whispered through the silver trees. The lights from the strange ships shimmered against the town walls. In that moment, everything around them seemed to stop. The quiet human who never spoke much was now the only one standing between peace and chaos. And as he took his first step forward, Mira felt the truth settle in her heart. Her quiet human was not just quiet. He was something far greater than she had ever imagined. Many peaceful days passed on Alara after the strange ships left. The people slowly returned to their normal routines, though the memory of that night never left their minds. Children played near the market, pretending to be like Aron, holding wooden sticks and shouting that they were protecting the town. The elders spoke softly about how a single human with an old sword had saved them all. Mira and Aron continued their simple life in their small home near the edge of the town. Mira returned to teaching and Aaron kept working in his workshop. Yet even though things looked peaceful, there was something new in the air. A quiet awareness that Alara was not as hidden as before. The stars above seemed a whisper of change. Mira noticed that Aaron spent more time outside during the nights. He would sit on the roof looking at the stars for hours. Sometimes he held a small round device in his hand, and it glowed faintly with blue light. One night when she joined him, she asked softly, "You are watching the sky again. Are you expecting something?" Aaron smiled gently. "I am only listening," he said. "Listening?" She asked, confused. "Yes, the stars speak in their own way. Every signal, every whisper from space tells a story. I am trying to know if someone out there remembers me." Mira stayed quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Remembers you?" "What do you mean?" Aaron looked at her and said, "Before I came here, I worked with a human expedition group. We traveled to many places trying to help small worlds stay safe. We avoided war, helped build peace, and left when our work was done. But there were some who did not like that. They saw us as threats. That is why I came to Alara, to rest, to live quietly." Mira felt her heart ache softly. She finally understood that her husband had been more than an engineer. He had once been part of something greater, something that changed lives. But even now, he chose peace over power. Days turned into weeks, and everything seemed calm until one afternoon when a signal reached the planet's outer communication center. It was a coded message, repeating the same words again and again. "The sword-bearer has been found." The technicians tried to decode it, but they did not understand its meaning. When Aaron heard about it, his face turned serious. That evening he told Mira, "It means someone is searching for me." Mira felt a chill run through her. "Who?" she asked softly. "Those who fear what humans can do when they stand for peace," he said calmly. "They think strength belongs only to those who control others. But they are wrong." He went to his workshop and began checking his tools. He repaired a few small drones and placed them around the town's borders. Mira watched him silently. His movements were steady, not rushed, but she could tell he was preparing for something. That night, the stars looked brighter than usual. Mira lay awake, thinking about what might come next. She had married a man who never boasted, never spoke of his past, and now she realized that his quiet nature hid a history that reached far beyond their small world. The next morning, a group of visitors arrived from the central city. They were members of the Alliance Council. Their leader, a tall woman named Lyra, came to meet Aaron personally. She had heard about what had happened during the attack. "You are the human called Aaron," she said politely. "Yes," Aaron replied. "The council wants to understand what power you used. That sword. It is not like any known weapon," she said. Aaron shook his head slowly. "It is not a weapon. It is a reminder of what humans once stood for. It was made long ago to bring balance, not harm." Lyra studied him for a long moment. "Still, the council believes that others may come for you. We want to offer you protection." Aaron looked calm as he answered, "Thank you, but my place is here. I will protect this world myself." The council members were surprised by his confidence. Lyra nodded respectfully and said, "Then we will trust your word. But if you need help, call us." When they left, Mira turned to him and said, "You could have gone with them. You could have been safe." Aaron looked at her gently. "My safety means nothing if this place is left unguarded. I made a promise to you, and to these people." Mira wanted to argue, but she saw the calm strength in his eyes and knew there was no changing his mind. Over the next few days, Aaron worked more than usual. He upgraded the town's shields and trained the guards to use new defense systems. The people followed his instructions with full trust. Even the children admired him, calling him the quiet protector. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Mira brought him food at his workshop. "You have not rested in days," she said softly. He smiled. "I will rest soon. The systems are almost ready." But just as he finished speaking, the lights in the workshop flickered. A low sound filled the air like a deep hum. Aaron froze for a second and looked at the sky. "It has started," he whispered. Mira stepped outside and saw faint lines of light moving high above the clouds. "What is it?" she asked. "Tracking signals," Aaron said quietly. "They found me." Within minutes, the town's sensors began to ring. The same kind of ships that had attacked before appeared again, but this time there were more of them. The people ran to shelters and the guards prepared the defenses that Aran had built. Mira turned to him, fear in her eyes. Will they attack again? Aaron placed a hand on her shoulder. Yes, but this time we are ready. He walked to the center of the town and stood on the platform. The guards looked at him, waiting for his command. Aaron lifted his sword and the old blade began to glow softly. The light spread around him, touching the walls and the ground. The new shield system connected with his energy, and the town was surrounded by a clear dome of light. The ships above tried to send energy blasts toward the surface, but the light from the dome absorbed every strike. The people inside watched in amazement as their small town glowed like a star. Aaron's face remained calm. He was not fighting. He was protecting. The intruders soon realized that their attacks were useless. They began to circle the town, scanning for weak points. Aaron looked up and whispered softly, "You will not break what is built on peace." Then something unexpected happened. The sword sent a wave of light upward into the sky. The signal traveled far, passing through the ships and into the darkness beyond. It was a message, not of war, but of warning. Far away in deep space, other human colonies received the signal. On distant stations, humans saw the old code and understood what it meant. One of their own was standing against a new threat. Mira stood beside him as the light from the dome faded slowly. The ship stayed above for a while, then pulled back into the sky, disappearing among the stars. The town was safe once more, but everyone could feel that this was only the beginning. Aaron lowered his sword and looked at Mira. "The galaxy knows now," he said softly. "They will come again, but next time they will not face only me." Mira held his hand tightly. "Whatever comes, we will face it together," she said. Aaron smiled gently, and the stars above them shined brighter, as if the universe itself was listening. The next morning, after the strange ships left, the whole town of Ilara woke with mixed feelings. The people were safe, but they could not forget the shining light that covered their town. The children said it looked like a star had touched their world. The elders whispered that it was a sign of protection. Mira walked through the quiet streets, noticing how everyone looked toward the sky again and again, wondering if the ships would return. Aaron, as always, was calm. He stood on the hill near their home, holding his old sword while watching the sunrise. The light reflected on the metal blade and the quiet wind moved through his hair. Mira joined him, carrying 2 cups of warm tea. "You did it again," she said softly. "You saved everyone," Aaron smiled faintly. "We saved them together. I could not have done it without the people's trust." Mira sat beside him, taking a slow sip of tea. "The message you sent," she said. "You said it would reach others. Do you think they heard it?" Aaron looked at the distant stars and said, "Yes, they heard. Somewhere out there, humans will recognize the signal. It was an old code from the time when Earth still had defenders who stood for peace. They will come." For a while, neither of them spoke. The peaceful morning was filled with the gentle sound of birds and the soft rustle of trees. But deep inside, Mira could feel that their peace was only resting. Something larger was approaching. That same day, the Alliance Council sent a message to Ilara. They had also seen the bright wave of energy that spread through the system. The message said that they would send envoys to learn about what had happened, and to understand the human technology behind the shield. Mira could see worry on Aran's face when he read the message. "They will want to study the sword," he said. "But it is not something that can be studied. It is more than a weapon. It carries memories." Mira looked at him curiously. "Memories?" "Yes," he said gently. "Every human sword from that time is made from a bond between the person and the metal. It remembers the intentions of its holder. It only shines when the heart is calm and pure." She smiled softly. "Then it shines because of your heart." Aaron looked away shyly, but Mira saw the small smile on his lips. 2 days later, a fleet of ships appeared in the sky. Not invaders this time, but alliance ships. Among them were human vessels too. When they landed near the town, the people gathered to see them. It had been years since anyone on Ilara had seen more than one human. From one of the ships stepped a tall man with short gray hair and kind eyes. He wore a uniform with a symbol Mira did not recognize. The moment Aran saw him, his calm eyes widened slightly. "Commander Hale," Aran said quietly. The man smiled warmly. "It has been a long time, Aaron." Mira watched as they shook hands. The people around whispered, realizing that Aran had once been part of something much bigger. The commander looked around the town and then at Mira. "You must be Mira," he said politely. Aaron spoke of a peaceful life. "I see now why he chose this place." Mira smiled and bowed slightly. "You are welcome here, Commander." Later, inside their small home, Commander Hale and Aaron talked for hours. Mira served them tea and listened quietly from a corner. Hale explained that the message Aaron had sent reached several human outposts. When they decoded it, they realized he was alive. He told Aaron that the groups who once opposed human peace missions were still active in hidden parts of the galaxy. They feared the idea of humans standing as protectors again. "They want control," Hale said. "You showed them that one human can stand for peace and win." "That frightens them," Aaron nodded slowly. "I wanted only to protect this world." "I did not mean to start a movement," Hale smiled slightly. "You may not want it, but the galaxy remembers when humans brought balance. You reminded them of that." Mira watched the two men speak and realized how deep her husband's past went. She had married a man who carried history within him, yet he had chosen to live quietly, fixing small machines and teaching kindness. That evening, the town held a small celebration to welcome the visitors. People decorated the streets with glowing ribbons and children ran around laughing. The humans and Alari shared food and stories. Mira looked at Aaron, who smiled softly as he watched everyone. For a moment he looked peaceful again, almost happy. But just when the celebration was at its highest, a sudden light filled the sky. The air shimmered as new ships appeared, darker and larger than before. Commander Hale's expression changed at once. "They came sooner than expected," he said. The crowd turned quiet as the ships hovered above. They carried the mark of the Shadow Collective, a group known for seeking power through fear. Aaron stepped forward, his calm face turning serious again. "Everyone to shelter," he said gently but firmly. The guards began guiding people inside the buildings while Aaron and Hale walked to the center of the town. The sky thundered with deep vibrations as one of the ships opened a bright portal. A voice echoed from above, deep and cold. "Human protector, surrender your weapon and your light. You cannot hide what you are." Aaron looked up at the sky and said clearly, "You do not understand. The light is not mine to surrender." Mira stood at the doorway, her heart pounding. She wanted to run to him, but something in her heart told her to stay. The air became heavy with energy and the ground began to hum. Hale turned to Aaron. "We will stand with you." Aaron nodded. "Then we protect them together." He lifted his sword and once again the blade shone with calm blue light. The humans who came with Hale formed a circle around the town, activating their own devices. The Alari guards followed their lead. For the first time, humans and aliens stood side by side, not as strangers but as friends. The light from Aaron's sword spread again, connecting with the shields and machines around the town. This time the glow reached higher than before, forming a dome that touched the edge of the clouds. The Shadow Collective ships tried to break through, but their energy beams scattered harmlessly across the light. Inside the shield, Mira watched in awe. The ground trembled gently as if the entire world was breathing. Aaron's calm voice echoed softly. "Peace will not bow to fear." The words seemed to carry through the air. The invaders' ships shook under their own power, as the bright dome reflected their own energy back into space. One by one their engines failed and they pulled back, retreating into the darkness. The people of Ilara cheered and Mira ran to Aaron. He looked tired but peaceful. The sword's light slowly faded and he lowered it. Commander Hale placed a hand on his shoulder. "The galaxy saw that," he said. They saw humans and Alari standing together. "This will change everything." Aaron nodded slowly. "Then maybe it is time for humans to be seen not as warriors, but as guardians again." That night, as the stars shone brighter than ever, Mira and Aaron stood on their porch. The air was still, but they could feel the change coming. Mira held his hand and said softly, "You brought hope to everyone, Aaron." He looked at her gently. "You gave me a reason to keep it alive." The stars above seemed to sparkle brighter, as if the universe itself had begun to remember the quiet strength of humans once more. The morning after the Shadow Collective ships had retreated, the town of Ilara slowly returned to its usual calm. The children ran through the streets laughing as if nothing had happened, but the elders and guards moved with more purpose. They had seen what a single human with only his sword and calm heart could do. They understood that peace sometimes required quiet strength. Mira walked beside Aaron carrying a basket of fresh bread. She looked at him and smiled. You are always calm no matter what happens, she said softly. Aaron smiled faintly. Calm is not weakness, he replied. It is preparation. When the heart is steady, actions are clearer. Mira thought about everything they had faced. The first attack, the arrival of the human fleet, and the recent battle with the Shadow Collective. Aaron had remained quiet, patient, and wise through it all. She realized that she had married not just a man, but someone who carried hope for many worlds within him. That afternoon, the Alliance Council sent a representative to meet with Iran. She was a kind-looking Ilari woman named Selena. She explained that after seeing the light from Iran's sword, other planets had sent messages asking for human guidance in protecting their communities. Many had lost trust in their own defenses and wanted someone who could teach them the strength of calm and courage. Aaron listened quietly. I am not a general, he said softly. I only protect where I can. Others can learn if they are willing to work together. Selena nodded. That is all anyone asks. They want to learn, not to fight. Mira watched her husband, amazed at his humility. He had already saved Alara, yet he was willing to help other worlds without seeking fame or reward. She felt proud but also worried. Helping others might bring new challenges, and she knew that peace could not last forever in a galaxy with many different races and ambitions. Days passed, and Aaron spent time training the Ilari guards and teaching them the principles of patience, observation, and careful action. He also showed them how to use simple tools combined with the energy from his sword to strengthen their defenses. The Ilari learned quickly, and soon they could maintain the shields without Aaron's constant supervision. Mira helped by organizing the town, ensuring that people were safe, fed, and calm. She continued teaching children about the stars, about the planets humans had reached, and about the importance of working together. People admired her as much as they admired Aaron. Together, they had brought a sense of hope and unity that the town had never experienced before. One evening, while the suns were setting, Mira and Aaron sat on the hill near their home. The sky was filled with beautiful shades of orange and purple, and the stars began to shine above. Mira leaned her head on Aaron's shoulder. Do you ever miss Earth? She asked softly. Aaron smiled faintly. Sometimes, but I found a new home here. A place where peace matters, where kindness can be stronger than fear. That is worth more than any city or ocean I left behind. Mira looked at him, her eyes full of love. I never imagined a quiet human could change so much, she said. You are more than I ever expected. Aaron held her hand gently. I only did what anyone would do if they had the chance to protect what they love, he said. That night the town slept peacefully for the first time in many weeks. The shields remained active, ready if any threat returned, but no one feared the dark. Aaron's sword rested safely in its case, glowing faintly with the quiet energy of calm hearts. In the following weeks, messengers from nearby planets began to arrive. They came to learn from Aaron and the people of Alara. Some stayed for days, observing how humans and Ilari worked together to keep the town safe. Others went back to their homes carrying stories of a quiet human who could protect without anger or aggression. Mira often watched Aaron as he worked with the visitors. She realized that the human she married had become more than a husband. He had become a symbol, not of war, not of power, but of hope, patience, and strength used wisely. One afternoon, as the suns were bright in the sky, a small group of children approached Aaron. They asked him to teach them how to be brave and kind, how to face challenges without fear. Aaron knelt down, smiling softly. Bravery is not loud, he said. It is calm. It is choosing to do the right thing even when it is hard. Every one of you can be brave if your heart is steady. The children listened carefully, their eyes wide with wonder. Mira watched them and thought about the future. The galaxy was vast and there would always be challenges. But with humans like Aaron and people like her, there was hope that peace could grow stronger. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, life on Alara became even more peaceful. The town prospered, trade increased, and visitors continued to arrive, inspired by the story of the quiet human who had stopped invaders without violence. Aaron continued his work, teaching, protecting, and helping anyone who needed it. One evening, as the sun set for the third time that week, Mira and Aaron walked hand in hand through the market. The children waved at them, the elders bowed respectfully, and the traders smiled warmly. Everyone knew that their lives had been changed forever, by the quiet human who had drawn his sword and reminded the galaxy that strength could be gentle. Mira looked at Aaron, feeling a deep sense of peace. "Do you ever wish you had not come here?" she asked softly. Aaron shook his head. "No, this is where I belong, with you, with the people of Ilara. Protecting them is my life, and it is my choice." They continued walking, feeling the warmth of the suns and the gentle breeze on their faces. Mira realized that the quiet man she married had brought not only safety but hope, inspiration, and a new way of thinking to her world. That night, as the stars filled the sky, Aaron and Mira stood together on the hill near their home. Aaron's sword rested beside him, glowing faintly with calm energy. Mira leaned on his shoulder and whispered, "Thank you for being who you are." Aaron smiled, looking at the stars. "The galaxy will always have challenges," he said softly. "But as long as there are people who care, who are brave in their hearts, peace can endure." Mira held his hand tightly, feeling the strength and calm within him. She knew that no matter what came, they would face it together. The quiet human she had married had become more than just her husband. He was a guardian, a teacher, and a symbol of hope for everyone around him. And as the stars shone brightly above Ilara, the people slept peacefully, knowing that the quiet human with the sword was watching over them. The galaxy had seen his strength, and it would never forget that courage and kindness could exist together, quietly, powerfully, and always.